What's the good word, y'all? DKB here. So there was some news that dropped that made me extremely excited, and I think it's just another small kudos to the job that Joe Douglas has done. So Zach Rosenblatt, and there's also sources from overthecap.com, they mentioned that the New York Jets should be looking at 4 compensatory picks for the 2024 NFL Draft, and this is significant for a few reasons. For one, the New York Jets have not had a friendly relationship with the league's system to reward teams that have had a lot of success. And needless to say, New York Jets and success, they have not been words that are synonymous with each other. So ultimately, we've had to rely on free agency. We've had to rely on the draft. And with some of the GMs that we've had, you know, quote unquote cap expert guys like John Izzik, quote unquote talent evaluators like Mike McCagnon, and then of course we had the Tannenbaum days where we kind of played almost how the Rams are now, where we were relinquishing draft picks left and right in order for proven talent to try to secure ourselves a Super Bowl, and it almost worked, but almost doesn't allow you to keep your job. So Joe Douglas, he's actually done probably the best job overall of not killing us in the cap. I mean, he got us down to the lowest cap numbers in the league when it comes to dead space or dead cap, and not having future money, being dished out for guys that either won't be here, are hurt, retired, etc., etc. So it's been great having him in the building, and obviously people fall either extremely one way or the other in terms of his ability to identify talent. But even though his drafts classes have not been perfect, undoubtedly, especially with this last draft class that we had, it's been out lowest case scenario. I would say his floor has been average in terms of being able to hit in the draft and find quality people as well as maybe some stars, and at best, I won't say elite, but definitely in the upper third tier of GMs in the league over his time. And if hopefully Mekhi Becton and a couple other guys can bounce back, his record looks even better. But all of that aside, we are talking about the future here. So compensatory picks, what are those? If people aren't familiar whatsoever with the NFL draft and kind of how some things work out, the NFL essentially has a reward system for teams that generally are successful and are in the playoffs and competing for Super Bowls. We know those teams are going to have higher paid players, so you're going to have to eventually let some people walk in free agency. And, when those players get signed and picked up by other teams, the NFL wants to reward those for the teams that did leave if they weren't replaced with a significant free agent to kind of offset that. So, names don't come to mind for the New York Jets because since 1995, we've only had 13 compensatory picks total. It's been pretty porous when you compare that to teams like the Packers, the Seahawks, the Saints, the Patriots, kind of these model citizens almost, if you will, at being able to take advantage of the compensatory pick formula. The 49ers, another one, where it seems like almost year in year out there getting, 2, 3, 4 picks consistently. And some of these teams are maximizing on it. And, there was a change previously that I think the earliest pick that used to be provided was a 4th or a 5th. Now it can go as high as the end of the 3rd round. The compensatory picks always come after the original order of the draft, and then they're just kind of tacked on at the end. So there's a couple of teams that are getting some extra, day 2 picks at the end of the 3rd round, which is it's hugely favorable, right? There's still plenty of guys out there that teams will salivate over to see fall into day 3 that get scooped up at the end there. So one of the other reasons I'm very excited about this is that Joe Douglas has seemed like he's had a plan for round 1 picks all the way down to round 7. And we've seen this pretty consistently. I mean, we flipped, we had a middle linebacker. His name always ends up escaping me at certain points, but we traded him to the Texans for a 4th. We went and traded Chris Herndon for a 4th. If you want to talk about picks that we've relinquished, we recently picked up Chuck Clark, a starting safety, for a 7th rounder. And so there's always some kind of plan, right? Joe Douglas loves these later round picks and being able to scour the league and find a guy that maybe has an injury history, but an extremely high ceiling. And when he's on the field, maybe elite production or above average production, or just somebody that's worth taking a shot on, right? Somebody that maybe had a first, second round pedigree and maybe they haven't lived up to it, but the coaching staff feels like they can, do something with them. So, we're taking cast-offs, we're going through waiver wire additions, etc. Compensatory picks would be at a premium for a guy like Joe Douglas, who's proven he knows how to flip those, if not use those picks to try to find somebody that's a quality player for this team. And so, with us losing guys like Nathan Shepard, Nate Herbig, Mike White, Dan Feeney, it seems like we should get a 6-rounder for Nathan Shepard, and then the other 3 guys would provide us back 3 7th-round picks. And again, it's not crazy. It's not life-changing, right? These aren't the 3rd-round picks that I would love to see. And from what I recall, there's 2 main factors that will determine what those compensatory picks can ultimately be. It's the contract that they sign and whatever the value amount is. And then I believe it is playing time as the other one. Don't quote me on those. But nonetheless, I think this would be a huge addition to, if we can make this a habit for us, a growing war chest. We know Joe Douglas likes his picks. Obviously, we've been doing some different things with us pursuing Aaron Rodgers and what that may mean for us. But I could only foresee great things happening from this. The best part of it is there are some different loopholes and different things like that going on. So Aaron Rodgers won't count. He's not a free agent. That's happening via trade. But guys like Ben Jones, guys like Odell Beckham Jr. that we want, they also won't count against the formula to affect our picks. And I want to say that the reasons were that Odell Beckham Jr. sat out for a full year. So I think there's some kind of time span issue there. And with Ben Jones, it was that he was cut. So any cut guys don't count against us at all. And as far as us losing Sheldon Rankins, that probably could have netted us something like a 4th-round pick. But we signed Alan Lazard, so there's the offset there, for example. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Again, maybe we start hitting more often and losing more higher quality guys, like maybe a Michael Carter in the future, right? And so maybe we're starting to look more at 5th-round picks as opposed to 7th-rounders. But this can only be a great thing moving forward. It will be a huge bonus for us to see that we have an additional 2 to 4 picks on top of whatever other moves that we have. Joe Douglas generally isn't trading a plethora of picks, at least not the premium ones in day 1 and day 2 for the most part, unless he's doing it on draft day to move up and get a guy. So it'll be nice. It'll be nice to see us round things out, especially since we've seen that we can hit on day 2 and day 3 guys more so than we've seen in years past. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. A little bit of a lot of rambling here, especially over something that won't even happen for a year from now. But thought it was interesting news and something that we'll definitely love come draft time when we realize we have 8 or 9 picks as opposed to 6 for us. So again, let me know your thoughts and I'll catch you again. Peace.